Welcome to an all-new, all-remote, all-sanitized installment of Things I Found Online. You may not be at work, you may not be at the ballpark, you may not be at the theater, but you are online, and we are here to help you find the best ways to stay productive and entertained while we isolate together. I am Jamie Alcroft, isolating here with Danny Mann, Dina Friedman, Lane McFadden, and our guest filmmaker Bill Filipiak and home organization consultant Melinda Ruben. Oh, and the test results are in for our host Louise Planker. She tests negative for COVID-19 and positive for shingles. I'm gonna go change my shirt. Wheezy?
Thank you, Jamie. Don't touch my face. We are all working our way through a crazy cocktail of emotions. Fear, worry, loneliness, anger, sadness, cabin fever. And what makes this situation so unique is that we are all sharing the same surreal isolation. The Queen is alone. The Pope is alone. Oprah alone. No one is immune from this experience, so I've decided to look for hidden blessings. More time with family. More time to reflect. More time to DM that guy you always thought was cute from college at 4 a.m. because what the hell? Not me, but you. I'm married, but you may still think he's cute. Once you pass through despondency, you kind of get possessed by that what the hell spirit because, what the hell? Last week we canceled the show. We have now entered into a time which will heretofore be known as the week when boomers learned how to Zoom. So let's do a show. There's probably a Trump press conference you've been meaning to avoid anyway. What the hell? Panel, where are you? Explain.
I'm hunkered and bunkered in our apartment, and I've been really lucky because I've been able to go to a warehouse and get on my bench where I'm a silversmith and I make jewelry with my silversmithing
And you live
skills. And chains like that.
Oh, awesome.
And bracelets like that. And I have a website called Silver by Jamie. And if you go to silverbyjamie.com, you can see all my stuff. And so I've been doing that, and I'm alone at my bench. So nobody's around me. I mean, it's a dirty warehouse, but there's no COVID virus there.
Okay, just some dust mites. Danny, where are you?
When Jamie's at the warehouse, I'm at his apartment with Sarah, and she's made sushi for me. We've been watching videos of their daughter, and she complains about the fact, how does she explain that her husband makes jewelry to people? Mm-hmm. And it's been good for both of us. What's that?
Is there a brooch in this for you?
I think so. I think if I use the right approach.
There's certainly a chastity belt in it. A nice metal.
Ironically, I worked with.
Wow. All right, so Danny, you're hunkered and bunkered in your apartment.
At home, doing an interesting variety of things when I'm not. I'm trying to keep the mood positive, but it's tricky. But I've been watching some interesting oddball stuff on TV, lots of YouTube stuff, texting people. Everybody in the world is venting and you're starting to exchange stuff, and my cousins are calling going, put out a big email and ask how everybody. So it went from kind of nothing to like we should all be doing something about this and trying to deal with it, and
just communicating.
Communicating, trying to share our commonality right now. And if I may be, am I allowed to be a tiny bit risque?
Why not?
Why not? What the hell? So I gotta tell you, the best line that I've heard about this whole thing was about a week ago. It was and I'm not on Twitter, but someone sent me a retweet of it's from Danny Zucker, who's one of the executive producers on Modern Family, and his line was, "If Kevin Bacon tests positive for this, we're all fucked."
All right.
Which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, all right, Bill, where are you?
I'm at Danny's apartment.
Oh, thanks for cleaning up.
Wanted to make sure, take care of that. I'm hunkered down at home. We got the word. I had been on vacation last week, but right before I went on vacation, I was told that the Opry and Ryman, we were going to be sent home to work for at least a month.
Okay, so you work at the Opry and
yes.
The Ryman. You work at both?
In Nashville.
Well, Ryman Hospitality owns the Ryman Old Red restaurants and the Opry. So I'm a part of all of that. And I work on videos for marketing and also now the Circle Television.
So now, when you work for a big company like that or a big concern like that, is everyone now kind of let's see, how do I put this? Is everyone strategizing on how everyone will best work together from home, knowing that when you work in entertainment, people are home and they're starving for entertainment, so you have to make more, but how do you do it? What's the new workflow going to look like?
It is very interesting because it all happened so suddenly, and within a week, all of our editors, everybody was working from home, marketing, publicity, and yet we have a television network now that is a beast that needs to be fed with programming.
Right,
So
right.
I am accustomed to going to artists' homes, to being backstage at the Opry, doing interviews, going out to different venues to do interviews, and we're just now contemplating how do we create programming without having to have a crew of 30 people and artists and friends and stuff, because we're only allowed to have no more than 10 people gathered at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So me personally, working with another producer, we're coming up with ways of having artists be interviewed through Zoom, as we're doing now, sending us their footage of how they're coping with things and doing interviews remotely like that, which just you're really having to think outside the box. And the most extraordinary element was when this past Saturday they did a show from the Opry with no audience, and they had 3 artists, and it was spectacular. It was, but they could only have a crew of. They had 3 cameramen, a producer, audio, and the 3 artists, and basically that was all they were allowed to have, and they pulled it off. And I listened to it on WSM radio, which you can also stream, and it was so surreal because it was very much like listening to the Opry 60 years ago, 70 years ago, where you're listening to it on the radio, you're having dinner with your family,
Right.
and it's all acoustic. There's not a lot of instrumentation to it, and it was very communal. It was very much like going. It was just so surreal, but very comforting at the same time. It was extraordinary.
You had 3 of the best players up there. You had Vince Gill, Marty Stewart, and Brad Paisley. So
and they were.
You guys can play.
And I'll tell you what's extraordinary about that is when you listen on the radio to a live broadcast like that, and there's no tuning of vocal tuning. There's no correction. There's nothing. It is. I admire anybody who can go on a stage with a guitar and a vocal and just captivate an audience. And they crushed it. It was extraordinary. So yes, yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just finished watching the Ken Burns country music documentary, and now have been rewatching some of the episodes. So I'm lapping this up because I've never been a huge country fan, but I gained appreciation as life has gone on, and that documentary is amazing to me.
It's extraordinary to find, when you go through the history of where it all came from and the roots and the stories, and it is a very communal music, and it is very much meant to bring people together. And when you think about bluegrass and the roots of country, and it was very rural, and it was this wasn't something that people did to entertain themselves. This was something they did as a.
It was their lives. It was.
Yes, they gathered around in the living rooms and the families and front porches, and they brought, and so that's all coming back now. So I mean, you talk about looking at the positives of everything that's going on, and sometimes it takes something like this to make us kind of take a step backwards and look at what's important. And I'm finding that alone, just sitting at the dinner table with that in the background. You start to recognize, wow, when was the last time we sat down at the dinner table together like this and help each other put it all together and set the table and actually talk to each other and spend an hour together? And there's magic in that. And you're forced to take a pause. And yeah, very, very fortunate. But yes, we are being forced to look at how do we continue to do our jobs from a different, everybody, we have our meetings every Monday morning, and now we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. To go over production notes and how we're you're having to rethink how you do things. And change is good. It's good to kind of shake things up once in a while. I hate the circumstances that we're being forced to do it under, but you've got to look for the positives. You have to.
But with the circumstance that we're under, the demands on you have to be far greater because you have to generate more material if you're going to survive online.
Well, I think the reality is that each of us, it's that old adage that we all have our own cross to bear. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that I have a job that allows me to work from home for a time period. I have my family, I have my health, and there are those that are not as fortunate. So
Right.
each of us has to
shingles.
right. Yeah,
That's right.
so
Dina, where are you?
So I am hiding in my room.
Come on over to Jamie's.
Are you coughing and sneezing into your elbow?
Yes, I am. Even though I'm alone, I'm coughing into my elbow. I'm hiding from my son and my husband, who are home all the time now, and it's not new for me to be home a lot because I work from home.
Right.
I like being at home, like some of the other people have mentioned. I connect to the world through the internet.
Right.
I don't really feel the need to leave my house that much anyway.
Right.
But what's different is that everyone else is home too.
Right.
My husband is home more than ever in the 14 years we've been together.
Mm-hmm.
My son is home from school now. LAUSD shut down till May 1st, as of now. And it's just a lot of like, we're just in each other's space a lot, and everything's okay for now, but it's almost like starting to get, you can see the friction start. Yeah, exactly.
So how are you going to handle it? Because that's bound to happen. There's a lot of families that live in an apartment. There's families where you just kind of spend your day looking forward to when somebody leaves, and now like, he's leaving. He's here.
Yeah.
Like if you have a roommate, they're like, oh yeah, it's awesome when he goes. He's not going. So what are we going to do? And how are we going to figure that all out? I mean, and you've got a little kid, and he probably wants to have play dates, and so
yeah. Well, it's interesting actually. Like what Bill was saying, it's kind of an interesting, exciting time for all of us to try to figure out how to do the things that we were doing before. There's a girl in writer's class who it's her birthday tomorrow. She was going to have her birthday party this weekend. Of course, it's canceled. And we're all zooming in like 50 people. I don't know. I'm actually not sure how many people Zoom can host. That it's in one. Maybe one of the guys has an idea about that. But everyone is zooming in to sing happy birthday to her tomorrow at like 4:15 or whatever it is.
And then they're all going to yell, blow out your app.
A month from now, everyone is just going to have Zoom on in a corner of the room.
Right.
Walk over and change who you're supposed to be.
Who you're hanging out with.
Yeah, because it's going to be our new normal. It's like I'm supposed to be talking to somebody.
Yeah. Well, we'll all keep our places a little cleaner and a little more organized.
Oh, nice segue.
Will we?
Nice.
Oh yeah, look at Lane and Thomas. Let's see how you gentlemen keep house.
Well,
see your cut to Lane and Thomas's cameras.
Oh, I thought that was.
They're like, no.
before, let's find out.
no.
Melinda,
My point is, they have a photograph so that we can't see where they live or how they live because they're boys.
oh,
Are you clean, boys?
Oh, there's Thomas.
I'm here.
He's got a nice clean wall behind him.
yeah, he says the same decorator as Dina.
He's not shaving.
For whatever reason, I'm not shaving, even though I'm quarantined at home. Well, I'm actually at my girlfriend's. She's here.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
We're
Hi.
watching Homeland season last season, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's good. We're watching it too.
Right. She looks like she has coronavirus.
Oh no, she says.
No, you don't think so?
No.
Okay,
She
good.
doesn't know.
Good. You'll be safe.
Nobody knows what that looks like if somebody has it anyway. Everybody
they
looks
do.
normal.
It's not
Oh.
good.
People have been on, like Dan Goldman and
I
Tom
can tell.
Hanks. You just have to go online, Danny. Make a
Yeah,
Facebook
look at Tom
page. For
Hanks.
God's sake.
You can see it all over his face. It's like Philadelphia all over again.
Danny knows that if I don't harass him to make a Facebook page, it wasn't a real conversation. It
And
didn't-
I was going to say, right up to now, I felt like, oh, this is like a fake podcast. No, Wheezy's bugging me. Now it's a podcast.
It's an
Well,
intervention.
that's the way Louise
was-
proves to you she's not a robot.
No, Weezy's
All right,
the
so-
sister. Weezy's the sister I never wanted.
I want Danny to make a TikTok.
Oh my
Oh.
God, Danny and TikTok.
I thought that was the show about dogs' skin problems.
Melinda, where are you?
Ticked.
I'm at home
Okay.
with my husband. He's in the other room, and my dog. And it's weird because I'm never home. He's always home. He's here.
Really, you're never home.
He's a story,
I'm
my husband
never
was a storyboard artist, and so
He draws at home, right? He's always here. But I'm never home because I'm always in people's homes. I'm in other people's homes all the time, or offices, or wherever.
I'm
So he's
surprised I
weird.
haven't run into you at Jamie's.
Maybe
No,
She's-
Bill's
She's
at
coming
Danny-
over in about a half an hour.
Exactly.
Party.
Amy's and Bill's at Danny's and Mel's at Bill's.
But I like being home, so it's not so bad. I mean, so it's only been a week, and I like my husband, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, so explain what you do, because I got the email that you sent an email blast, and I thought, how interesting, what a great way to take advantage of.
I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to do it, but I'm a professional organizer, so that means that it's me and a crew of girls, and we'll come into your house, whatever your issue is. Let's say sometimes it's your whole house, and we'll organize your whole house. You know, we'll make it so we'll go shop and we'll buy inserts for your drawers, hangers, whatever you need, and make it look like, you know, we'll fix problems. But a lot of times we unpack people like when they move, so it's like they've always lived in that house. Like we help them purge before they leave their old house. We get to the new house, and then within 3 days, it's like they've always lived there, and everything's perfect.
So you're a civilizer.
I'm a
She did it.
civilizer, exactly. I'm bringing
You bring civility and civilization
bringing peace.
into people's homes.
Well,
That's
she
great.
did it for my auntie Sherelle, who was downsizing into a senior center, and
So
yeah,
cute.
it wasn't something she was going to be able to do by herself because she was overwhelmed by the whole thing. And Mel made it just seamless and painless, and it's still emotionally wrenching way through, but
I mean, you know, it's like I have guys that come and take all the stuff away that needs to be, you know, donated. I have handymen that will hang all the art, and I work with people that are really talented and have great vision. So we come up with like where the art should go and how. I mean, Sherelle's apartment looks so adorable. I'm really good at like furniture placement, which is kind of above and beyond organizing, but it just turned into kind of something we do. So when we move people in, we'll kind of help them. Or even if we're just not, we have some pictures later, like we were in a kid's room. And all the furniture was, I mean, first of all, it was a disaster, but second of all the furniture was placed wrong. So they were already set up to fail because things weren't right to begin with.
okay. So we have some before and afters that Mel's going to talk us through.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to see them now, but yeah.
No, as soon as they show up on the screen,
I'll tell you what they are.
Visual.
So anyway, that's what I do. But like I said, mostly I'm in people's homes, or I'm at an office, or I'm wherever I am, whoever needs us to. And I always say it's more like problem solving than anything else because I never know what I'm looking into. So I kind of just walk in, and I know I basically can look at the situation. And I know what needs to happen. I don't know why. I'm just born that way.
You are, but it's beyond problem solving, and here's why. It's
Here's
an
why.
extremely emotional time period. So people are not making logical choices because their emotions are overwhelming every kind of instinct that they might otherwise have.
Because here's what it is. It's like it's either the happiest or the worst time of your life when you call me. Most of the time. So either like getting married, you're having a baby, someone died, you're getting divorced, your mom died, you know, you're moving.
Which one of those are happy times?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that was just on Monday.
Yeah.
Quarantine. Yeah. But then I have like celebrity clients that just have too much crap, you know, we're doing kinds of memorabilia and like all, so it all depends, you know, and then I'm like a rental wife every Tuesday where I go to a client's house and we basically do all the things his wife should do, but she doesn't want to do, like, you know, pay the bills and get the kids, you know, enrolled in camp and like all that crap. So it's like, you know, get the handyman to come, and it's just a weird job. I don't know how to turn into it.
Did you look at Oprah today on Twitter?
No, was she talking about
Running
organizing?
out of space. She had to put Stedman in the guest house.
She did. Poor Stedman. I'm sure her guest is pretty amazing now.
Yeah, but the guest house is 40 acres.
Exactly.
kidding.
Yeah.
7,000 square foot house.
Yeah, different
We
zip
have
codes.
those photographs.
Yeah, before and after photographs. Let's look at them.
Yeah.
We're bringing them up right now. Hold on.
We do. But like what's really cool about it is
That's
when we
Is that his before?
Yeah.
I can't see
Yeah.
that. Which,
What's he look like after?
It's
That's
like, Melinda, for instance, what would you do with that really messy shelf behind you?
my shelf behind me, like where there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, that's cold. Come on.
Cold, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I would probably like. Well, actually, it's Yeah, there's some paperwork there I need to find.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny, I'm pretty organized at home, and I've been cleaning.
I know.
The
That,
thing is, like, I mean, and I don't mean to seem like, like the full Jewish American princess, but you can't have your cleaning lady here.
that's always the case. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
Now, are you going to have to stop going into people's homes and doing what you do?
That's the problem. So I was sitting thinking about what can I do, not just to not kill myself sitting at home, but maybe to help people out. Because honestly, when you're sitting at home, all you do is look at the things you hate in your house. And really, you're sitting here going, God, I really should redo this kitchen, but I have no idea what to do. So what
if it's your husband?
You're like looking at your pantry and you're like, I hate this pantry. How can I make it better? It's too small and I have too much stuff. So basically what I sent a letter out to all my clients and I just said, hey, I hope you guys are okay. I know it's a terrible time. I can't be with you, but I can help you with projects. So if you have something you want to work on, let's do it. So like, for instance, this is a pantry. This is a before, and it's not that bad of a before. So this
I wish mine looked like that.
I know. I was just going to say.
Okay, so that's the after. So let me tell you a little about this because it's interesting. So the before, it's a chef's pantry. So it's in a pretty big house. They have chefs. Now, the owner wanted it to be like, celebrity looking. And so I had to figure out how to make it look beautiful without the chefs wanting to kill me. Because
how do you make a pantry look like a celebrity?
A chef's pantry.
Exactly.
Well, I think
the next one's totally a celebrity. Anyway, so the chefs, I actually met with the chefs and we had meetings because I just wanted to make sure that, look, they want it to be pretty, but they has to be functional. So I gave my client a whole bunch of options when it came to containers. I said, here's what's available to you. And she picked what she wanted. And then we went shopping to the container store and we spent lots of money and bought all kinds of different cool containers and did that's the before. And then if you go to the after, I don't know if you can go to the after. But
you can see the containers on the side.
Right. So here's the after, right? So we buy a million containers and put like things together. So like if I'm going to give away, I'll give some people at home just like things you don't want to call me, but you want to do it on your own. You just got to do like things together. See, all the pastas are together, all the lentils and beans are together, so that's like the key.
Oh, look, you got a fruit basket there too.
We got these baskets over here with like all kinds of different veggies and things.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom, I think there's another one if you want to see it. But that's the kind of thing we can do. Now, this is a pretty expensive example of what we can do. We don't have to spend that much money. But you see, like we have all the drinks down below, and we went to IKEA and bought all those cool. This is awesome. Okay, so
now, where's the food in this cupboard? I don't see it.
Yeah,
it's you wouldn't want to eat any of that food.
No, they've got all their clothing in their pantry. That's the problem.
So this is obviously a really bad closet, right? This is a really bad closet. So basically, this is a before.
Oh my God! Look at the shoes. Oh my.
Yeah. So obviously, the big problem is they don't have a big enough closet. And they eat too much stuff. They haven't purged forever.
They found 2 kids they didn't know they had.
Exactly. So and this is the thing. Like, we can make it as good as we can make it as long as the people purge. That's still a shit. Excuse me. That's a lot of clothes. So we couldn't get them.
That's a shirt lot of clothes.
That's a shirt lot of clothes, right?
That is going to look like that's going to be a mess in 10 minutes. You watch it. Those people.
Like, well, I couldn't get them to get rid of stuff, and you're right. It probably will be, and they'll call me again. That's why I have job security.
And I can't find the pasta.
Pretend you're at the eye doctor. Go back to the before.
Did you? I know. Did you?
So come on.
You redid the floor too, right?
Yeah. Basically, what we did is you have to. So ultimately, what has to happen?
Difference, doesn't it?
You have to go through every single item basically, and listen. The Marie Kondo thing, I get it. Like, it doesn't give you joy, but I don't really agree with that because you need things that don't give you joy. Ultimately, you know what I mean. So
hence most of the marriages I see.
Exactly.
So, you know what it is? You never know what's going to bring you joy later.
Well,
nice.
but I have to tell you, there's certain things that I don't care if they give you joy. They're leaving. Like if they have holes in them, if it's something called bad black, like you've watched it so many times, the black isn't black anymore. Like those things are out of here.
Bad black.
Okay, so here's another closet, and this woman had so many clothes. Like this took us days. We just went through and purged. She sat on the bed. I showed her every single item. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then we put them back in her closet, like things together. We changed all the hangers out. That hangers from Costco. And she still has too many clothes. You have to start somewhere. And the thing is, like Weezy said, people are emotional about it. Everything they have memories. I had a client who she had all clothes from all different parts of her life, and before she would give them away, she wanted to take a picture of them. I'm like, okay, fine, take a picture of them, but they're leaving. So I'm like, you have a photo of this shirt you wore when you were,
of your children.
Yeah.
You're giving away your children. You want to
That's gotta be a boring slideshow. Here's a T-shirt from when I was 6.
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing about your clothes is like they don't grow up and move away. You have to.
Yeah.
Right. You have to decide. And it's so funny because there's certain things like I always say you have like an attachment to certain clothes that you wore at a certain time in your life. But
Oh, for sure.
So that's the after of that closet from far away. And that closet was such a mess, you guys have no idea. All the shoes, those were filled with jeans, stuffed with jeans. And we're like, no, jeans can't live there.
Wow.
Yeah.
This girl didn't know. So here's a garage.
Why did you take a picture of my garage?
Exactly. So these guys are TV writers. They have no time to do anything, and they just shove everything in the garage. And her husband would collect the tennis shoes. Like, I'm like, wow, you guys are in trouble with this collect. And he wouldn't get rid of them.
Now,
So-
how did they find you, Melinda?
They found me by word of mouth. I don't advertise at all. I'm all word of mouth. For a
Wow.
couple reasons. One, it makes it more. For me, this is a personal thing. I'm going through all your stuff. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I know somebody that knows them. A, because it is personal. B, I want to make sure I get paid. You know what I mean? For random people, it's like if you just never know. And you know what? I don't want to work with any creepy weirdos. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at all their stuff. So
Right.
Do you mind getting paid in old shoes?
Or jeans.
can I tell you something? We get a lot of good stuff. Honestly, I'm telling you, because
I'm
we have
sure,
a lot of
yeah.
high-end clients. The problem is they're all go to my the girls that work with me because they're all size 0. So I'm like, I get that great purse. You guys
I want to see your closet now. Hey, do you get to,
Right.
do you like bring in a dumpster or something like that when you're working on a?
For a garage like that, yeah, I'll rent a dumpster, and then we'll go to Costco and buy those racks because I'll say, listen, we're going to spend some money. You need racks. Your garage can't work if there's nowhere to put anything. So we'll go to. I live at Costco. Those bins, the 3-packs are like our lifesaver. And the hangers are like they're a good deal. They're $50 for like $12. Listen, they're kind of cheap. They'll fall apart, but you just have another box. Because you can buy them at Beyond, and they're really expensive, but they're going to break anyway. So I always tell my clients, but when you have those space-saving hangers, everything looks perfect. It's like all on the line, and everything is the same height. Everything looks good.
I'm finding myself looking around your room now, seeing if I recognize anything from any of the previous.
Seriously, I can tell you, I got some really cool stuff from different people.
From the garage. That's from the garage.
That
poster was in the
stone
house,
right?
I want to jump
The
to
book is
Bill.
a different job, right?
I want to jump to Bill for a moment because you sent me links to a lot of the stuff that you produce. You produce like the pieces that you produce. Like you have a dream job. You get to go backstage at the Ryman and at Opry, and you get to you get to walk into people's dressing rooms because you're the guy with the camera and they want to talk to you. So have you had any pinch me moments where you're just like, I cannot believe I'm having this conversation right now?
The interesting thing is, and having worked with you, over 20 years ago, and so we're part of that business where you are talking with celebrities and musicians and artists and actors all the time. You kind of get numb to it. And it was interesting. I was backstage, and I had taken my wife with me, and she was like having wow moments every 2 seconds, and and just seeing that kind of rekindled it and reminded me of how fortunate we are to work in the industry that we work in and to have the opportunities that we do. And what I found is that it isn't necessarily the big names that grab me. It's I work on a show called My Opry Debut, and I get to work with artists who are making their debut on the stage.
My Opry debut?
And
It's very hard to see.
Yeah,
And,
very difficult to see.
yeah.
Thank you. It's out of sight.
and a lot of them are newbies who are maybe 19, 20 years old, but then on occasion we'll have like a Ray Wiley Hubbard or a Hayes Carl come on who have been performing for decades, and this is the first time they've been on the Opry stage. And those, for me, are the moments that, those are the wow moments.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, you see these people who are legendary, and they have influenced probably 80% of the people who are on the Opry or other stages. And to meet them and to get to talk to them and hear their stories, that's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of, me and Melinda kind of grew up together at Premier Radio, and we used to go interview celebrities and recently, and we all have so many memories and adventures that we shared together. And one of them was that Bob Hope would do a special every 2 months, and I would bring someone with me. I would always, so that everyone in my department eventually got to go. So Mel went and Bill went. When I was with Mel, because Mel was like a sorority girl when I hired her. She was still like at UCLA. So she was like you know, she had Val speak and everything, but like Bob Hope was completely stone deaf. He could not hear anything. So there was a guy that would follow Bob Hope around, whispering or yelling in his ear, like who he was with, because he couldn't see and he couldn't hear. But he still had, you know, he still was the queen
Now
of
that's,
all.
see, that's funny.
He was he was the captain of the ship. And so he's taken us, he's got two cute girls, me and Mel, and he's taken us through all of his treasures and showing off. It's all like a museum. It's all behind cases. And he had the weird, crazy stuff, like stuff he had recovered from Hitler's bunker.
We were dying.
Mel and I were like, Mel was like, why does he have this? You know, it's like crazy. And all of a sudden, I hear Mel behind me go, oh my God, you like have the coolest stuff ever. And Bob's handler goes, you're going to have to speak louder. And Mel goes, oh my God, flying hat. And she completely just yelled the exact same.
Oh my God, I don't even remember that, but that sounds like
That's, yeah, that's if Garrett Morris was from the Valley.
And Bob's like, what's that?
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I remember Hitler's bunker stuff because that was just crazy. I'm like,
Some crazy
Hitler's bunker stuff.
So question, if you had to redo Hitler's bunker and make it neater, more organized, what would you do?
I kind of had this feeling that he was pretty organized.
Yeah.
He was German.
He was a minimalist.
Exactly. I had the feeling that he was pretty organized.
No, but I like those. I like that.
Don't bring me joy.
I like those shoes. Bring me. No,
Exactly.
keep those pants.
No.
The t-shirt can go.
He wore the same clothes every day.
These Jews are not bringing me joy.
No shoes. We said
Shoes.
shoes.
Oh, shoes.
Get rid of the shoes.
We got the whole thing wrong.
And I don't think that you organize this stuff anyway, but you don't know.
So, Bill, one of the clips that you sent me was to a Dolly Parton tribute. And so tell me what was going on, because we're going to show a little bit of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I started out doing I had interviewed Mr. Les Leverett, who was the Opry photographer from 1960 to 1992. And one of his greatest attributes was his ability to take the candids backstage of the artists in their dressing rooms while they'd be warming up, and you'd have Minnie Pearl with Roy Acuff, and it was just it was incredible, and it demonstrated what the Opry was in terms of a musical family. They all got together every week, and this was a big thing to them. And when we started filming backstage, I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could capture that same energy? And so we started just going backstage with cameras and just filming the evening without a host, with nothing. It was just being a part of it. And we strung it together, and it turned into a series called Opry Backstage at the Opry. And Dolly Parton was celebrating her 50th anniversary as an Opry member. And so she came, and we just kind of followed that same mantra of just being backstage, interviewing people who were fans of hers and the artists and that, and stringing together a story. But the funniest part about it to me was, I mean, she had a whole entourage. Like most of the art, when you go backstage, just very open, comfortable for everybody. And she had an entourage of like 5 bodyguards that followed her, including a German Shepherd that swept the area right in front of her before she walked in. And so we had cameras like everywhere, just trying to get 3 seconds of her passing by. It was an incredible night. It was just unbelievable.
She must get harassed a lot or something. That seems crazy, right?
I don't know. What I was told was the last time that she was there wasn't quite that way, but and at the same time, she still had a very charismatic way about her.
Yeah, she seems so down to earth and so warm.
She's very warm and open, and when talking to her was the same, where she's just anything goes, and she's very open to all the artists, regardless of where they come from, and her mantra is very much love all people and be open to all people and give everybody a chance.
It was really interesting on the documentary. They did a big, obviously a big chunk of it about her. And she was so driven and so organized, and that whole thing where that guy that she worked with for years, and how she knew she was eventually going to leave him, but out of loyalty stayed with him long enough. But she always had that vision. I mean, she
knew where she wanted to be, and she was never disrespectful of people.
Exactly.
So we're talking about Porter Wagner, and it's a really interesting, complicated relationship, but it's kind of, a lot of people can draw parallels between relationships in their lives. And it's a Star is Born kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
The mentor surpasses the mentee, and then that love-hate and that push-pull and that kind of, you know, you hold them in your heart forever, and she wrote the song "I Will Always Love You," Porter.
Mhm.
And the reason it resonates with all of us is we've had those relationships where you just have to move on because you've outgrown the person, or they've outgrown you, or you've grown in different directions, and it's just heartbreakingly beautiful. But I want to recommend, and guys, if you have it ready on that, for Bill, I wanted to play it from 821 to 903, the Dolly tribute. But I want, while we're working on that, I wanted to recommend the Dolly podcast, which my cousin Jim Frankel suggested that I would love, and he knows me very well, and I am loving it. It's on NPR, and so it's hosted by Jad Abumrad, who's the guy from Radiolab, and it's called Dolly Parton's America, and it's extraordinary. And so, as deep as Ken Burns' Nashville goes into the Dolly Porter relationship, this goes even deeper, and it's just wonderful. It's long, and a lot of Dolly, and what's so extraordinary about Dolly is that her fan base is anyone and everyone. And you don't really realize it until you listen to this podcast and you're like, wow, that's true. You could be the most rural person or the most urban person or the most...
Grand Ol Opry, it is.
Have we got it?
She did the cutest tribute to Kenny Rogers this week on Twitter.
Amazing, wasn't it?
So cute. It made me want to cry. She was so.
Oh my God! Yeah, that whole story. I was fascinated because I knew his career. I thought pretty well, and I read the bio, and I found so much stuff in the obit that I didn't know about, including early pictures of him, and also that first edition that I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. I had no idea that was him.
Oh yeah,
Didn't know. It was like I'd seen pictures.
Glenn Campbell was on that record.
Glenn Campbell played the guitar intro, and then the producer did like effects on it and put it backwards, and they were lifelong dear friends.
I love it. You guys know your stuff.
Blaine, look for an email I just sent you.
I'm reading off the teleprompter right now.
You have a prompter? They wouldn't give me one.
Bill, I'm reading off the teleprompter. Yeah, Danny, I got one. I got a cue card guy here, actually.
Yeah, well, Sarah and I set that up for
That's
you.
what
when
you're
you were at
reading
the
off
Silver
of
Shop.
Mine's a lot bigger print.
I got like
Blaine, do you have Blaine, do you have the little clip from Bill's piece?
I just sent it to Thomas. Thomas is doing the link, so he should bring it up.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We'll get the hang of it.
No worries. Yeah, it's all. Yeah, he should have it.
Think about it.
Can you guys hear me or see me? I feel like I've been talking.
No, we can.
We can hear you
I see
now.
you now.
Oh, you can see me.
You're propped up in bed.
Did you have that beard at the beginning of the show?
I grew it over the last.
Were you wearing a surgical gown?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
you were.
Thomas. I forgot that you were doing the links. I forgot the.
Yeah. Is this the right? Do you still hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
Hold on.
Is
Let
it
me
the
look
right
at my
video?
email. Pick it up at 8:21, or you can just start playing from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're on the road, you're with your own band, but it's it's not the same thing as having that camaraderie of just a whole bunch of us. It's a big family reunion. We've talked a lot about the Grand Ol Opry being a family, and in every family, you have different personalities. You have kids that go this way, you have kids that go that way, you have a gay one, you have a straight one, you have this or that, but we love them all. And the Opry has been really good to not only us, but so many other acts in gospel and bluegrass and, non-traditional country and all different kinds. I mean, you might see Steven Tyler walking out on the stage.
Making music, and a lot of times you can get caught up in stuff that doesn't matter as much. And getting to be somewhere like this and having people that are such big fans of the music, it's just gratifying.
I still, as much as I can on stage, make sure the crowd knows, that we are members of the Grand Ol Opry.
Awesome.
Wow.
Did you get the other email that I just sent, Lane?
Now, where can I watch that?
You can watch that on Circle TV.
Circle TV.
Which I believe in the Los Angeles area would be KCAL 9.3.
Okay.
But I have to double check that. Yeah.
All right, Bill,
Channel 9.
tell us how other ways that artists are entertaining their fans from the comfort of their own homes to the comfort of their fans' own homes.
Well, the struggle for a lot of the artists is the fact that, if you can't go to a venue to watch live music, obviously they can't either. And that is their bread and butter. Most of the artists, especially with the music industry today, a lot of the artists, the way they make their living is their live shows and their touring. So they are
their merch.
And their merch, and they're stuck. And so through live stream and different online applications now, they're able to do virtual concerts, and then they will put up their Venmo or PayPal accounts, and people can tip them during the shows. And the sound quality can be quite extraordinary. Maggie Rose just did one on Facebook that was, she had the whole band there, and they plugged in, and it sounded as if you were at the venue. It was extraordinary. So they're finding ways to stay connected to their artists and offering opportunities to, yes, buy merch, buy CD, encouraging people to download the music, not just stream it, and to tune in to the concerts. And they're doing these on a regular basis. And sometimes it's full band, sometimes it's very intimate, just and a guitar. But they're having to find ways to stay connected with people and make a living. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, I wonder if the labels are jumping in to help them in any way, shape, or form, because they should.
Well, and they're all doing everything they can to help promote things, but everybody's kind of stuck in the mud. This is unprecedented. Nobody to not be able to do what you do for a living, and it's not just the artists themselves. It's the band members, the musicians, the photographers who travel with them as freelancers and make a living. Everybody involved.
The music industry has spun 360 in the very early days. A record was printed so that you would know the music when that artist came to town.
Yeah.
And the 50s and the 60s came around, and people realized how lucrative and influential the record industry was. And just one airplay on the radio, people would come out and buy a lot of records. So the record industry became its own money-making behemoth. Mm-hmm. And now we flip back around to where recorded music is basically free, and artists make money by touring.
Yeah,
so
bizarre.
It's stability.
It's come full circle, absolutely.
Well, what's amazing though, the technology that exists now, because of what's happened, that there is an outlet where before, if this was happening and the internet didn't exist and computers didn't exist, and this had occurred, the devastation.
Be done, right?
At least suddenly there's like, well, let's see what we can do with this animal and make it work for us, and they're doing it.
Well, and the beauty is it works for everybody, because not only are the artists able to do what they do for a living, but music really is a great bonding for everybody. It's therapy, and it's kind of like what movies were in the 50s and 60s, where when chaos was going on, you escaped by going to the movies, and you escaped through music. And to be able to make that connection with an artist that personably and be in their home. That's something that, like you said, you couldn't do that 20 years ago.
And you're joining in chats with other fans of this artist, so you're making friends with other people who enjoy the artist, and we're all going to be reinventing exponentially as every day of this quarantine passes. We're going to be creating new ways of connecting and of being productive and being creative and sharing not just what we can do, but what we're feeling. And so, and listen to each other, and there's kids involved. I've sent 2 care packages out to the people in my life who have small children at home. Who Dina can speak to this, but you have to figure out what Ryder's day is going to look like, and what's your responsibility to making sure that his mind stays active. And so I sent learning toys to my cousins and my nieces that have little kids at home, so that if you don't have kids, or if your kids are grown, do that. Send learning packages out to the people that have the small kids, because their lives have changed even more dramatically than yours.
Well, that's
you don't have to help each other.
The interesting thing right now is my kids are out of school, and the schools are trying to they're sending out resources so the kids can stay up to date on, and not lose all the information that they gained this past year, and to review stuff. But are we, heading down a path where the concept of online learning is going to have to seep in at some point, depending on how long this goes on? To lose an entire school year is unfathomable.
Well, this is forcing us. This is one of the big changes it's making in our society. It's forcing us to adapt. We have been rolling along, and we've been getting involved in a lot of petty stuff in our society.
Yeah.
And now this is going to bring us all together. I mean, I've never spoken with more neighbors. I've never had offers from people that I don't even know to come out and get food for me because they perceive me as a senior. Imagine that.
Tina, talk about how the conversation.
I don't know where they get that from.
Tina, talk about the conversations between you and your fellow parents and the teachers. But how is everyone organizing?
One thing I wanted to say is that I think some people have become aware of the fact that there isn't as widespread internet access and access to technology as maybe there should be right now. There's a lot of kids around the country that still don't have internet access at home. And doing homeschooling is infinitely more difficult for them, while for my son, it's like it's not even a question. But it's a challenge as a parent to all of a sudden have your child's, like what you were saying, Louise, your child's entire life, right? Like their day-to-day life is completely in your hands. And that was the case, like maybe when they were like 3 years old or something, but you sort of let that go. And you put them in the hands of educators or, whatever, sports coaches, whatever, like the activities they do. For the most part, at this age, he's almost 9 years old. And I don't look after him all day like I did when he was a toddler.
Right.
So to have that back on my plate is kind of a little jarring, and it does feel overwhelming because on the one hand, I want like structure. I want him to, be in the best position to return to normal life. But at the same time, I kind of want to let things, like you were saying, everybody is kind of just doing a little bit of like, what the heck, and if I'm feeling that way about my life, like I'm doing a lot more kind of like, I don't care what people say or think or whatever, I'm going to express myself kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to do that. I don't necessarily want to turn to my kid and be like, okay, now here's your like rigorous schedule for the, you know what I mean? It's sort of like a weird thing that we're going through.
I don't think that, from what I'm reading online, you don't need to duplicate school.
Right.
You need for him to do one thing every day, do one lesson every day, and then it's really just love him and nurture him because everyone's kind of freaking out here, and so
kids must be scared too. This must freak the kids out. How do you, their whole
I mean, they're not. I don't think they're terrified. I think they're sad if, like, their parties have been canceled, their events have been canceled. Maybe they're not fully grasping it. Like I told Ryder, I'm like, well, I guess you're not having a birthday party this year, and he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, your birthday's in like 5 weeks. Like this is not going to be over yet. And he's like, oh, it'll be over. Like I'll have a birthday party.
Trump says we'll be back to work by then.
Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when things like the Barney and Friends tour gets canceled,
and he'll get serious.
We're in a lot of trouble.
Wait a second, uncanceled?
Dina, to your point, my daughter is a senior in high school, and all of her events, everything.
So sad.
Prom,
that's really, really sad.
Prom, presentation, all the parties, graduate, all of this is going away. And, how do you tell an 17, 18-year-old that everything that they've been looking forward to is, and we're working on getting her into college and trying to do all of that's put on hold, and it just it really throws
right in that very vein is two of my nephews have been in baseball and are heading towards baseball careers and play in college. So it's all about year of eligibility and which year is this, and the scouts have seen them, and if this draft doesn't happen, and all of that's on hold now, and that could easily end everything they've worked for their.
Don't you think it's really going to derail? Everyone just knows that this is how it is. We all have to wait.
Well, it's tough because of age and because of the next group coming in behind. They're still young enough that it may not, but if this is his draft year, this is his shot. So then it's like it changes, the kids that come into college, who's eligible, who gets offered scholarship. I mean, they know all that, but it's also the train keeps moving.
It's going to change for everybody, though. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to adapt as a society.
Yeah, but
I think we're going to bend the rules a little bit, and deadlines are going to move and change.
yeah, let's
and
hope so.
all that stuff.
All right, well, I need to wrap up now because, as I've mentioned earlier, I have shingles.
Are you still using that crutch?
So Mel, if where can people find you if they don't know you and they may be creepy?
Okay, you can be creepy if you're creepy, but you know if you're creepy, but you're watching it, you can call me.
Yeah.
You're creepy and you know it. Clap your hands.
Creepy and you know it. You can email me.
But how and where?
I'm going to tell you right now.
My lights just shut off.
My email address is organizedbymel@gmail. So it's organized like you already were organized by Mel. And
Organized by Mel.
and here's the thing. There's one thing that's kind of a bummer is you can't go and donate anything right now. They're all closed, but you can collect everything
And put it
you know
in a
what?
donate bag.
You can stick it in your garage or put it in your trunk because you're not driving anyway, and just wait. But get it out of your house, get it done. Yeah, there's no Goodwill open. There's no donation centers open.
So how's it going to work? Someone's going to walk around their home with their phone, and you're going to look and go, "Oh my God!"
But I'm going to say, "Oh my God, what were you thinking?" Well, but what I'll do is we'll come up with a plan. So maybe they'll have to go online and order some stuff.
And you'll give
and then, I might have to have them, we'll go through their closet. I mean, whatever it is, I don't know.
Well, they got a lot of time to kill, so this is a good time to organize.
Right. So throw away your expired food.
So that way, if you do pass away during the pandemic, they'll find your body in a beautifully organized, neat house.
Exactly. Any point to find your house unorganized. Right.
Yeah.
Melinda, are there like apps or
in your house should be your corpse?
Are there apps?
Would you say that again, Weezy?
Are there
the nastiest item in your house should be your corpse.
There's the poster.
Melinda and Dina are trying to have a conversation.
Dina, go ahead.
Are there organizing apps?
Yeah, apps that you use for organizing or like list keeping.
Well, there's like apps I use for organizing, but like for instance, I have a bunch of celebrity clients with too much memorabilia, so I use FileMaker to make databases for them, so we can find any of their stuff at any minute.
Oh, that's cool.
But there's all kinds of cool apps. If you look, I really haven't used any of them yet. Like inventorying apps. Like there's wardrobe apps where you can have pictures of all your clothes. I have a friend who's a stylist. He's got an app he works with all his clients. They have all kinds of mix and match with their clothes. But I don't really use them yet. I did use one called Delicious Library for a client's library. They had books all over their house and they couldn't find them. We color coded them and put them in an app.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Mel is a whiz. Now, Bill, if people wanted to find a lot of the backstage content and a lot more of the content than of what you create at the Opry and peek into your life, where they can go to billfilipiak.com and where else to find the content?
The best place to go is circleallaccess.com, and there you can plug in your zip code to find out what stations are airing the network at this point. And then in June,
may the circle be unbroken.
Is that where that comes from?
Yes. And then
perfect.
And then in June we'll be launching our streaming platform, which will basically be Opry's version of Hulu, where you'll be able to watch all of the. You'll be able to on your phone through Roku, any other service.
And talk about your most recent album, because Bill is also an artist.
No, we won't talk about that. You can go to Filipiak.com and hear my music, and I dabble in the background.
Oh,
I enjoy it very much.
It's very hard to work with the artists that I work with and then go home, because then I pick up the guitar and I'm like, oh my God, I suck.
I want to thank our guests, Bill Filipiak and Melinda Ruben. Our panel is Jamie Alcroft and Danny Mann. Our producer is Dina Friedman. Our tech wizards are Elaine McFadden and Thomas Hubble. Our webmaster is the multi-talented Bill Filipiak. Our sound designer is usually John Maddox, but I am not yet certain how we are going to be sharing this experimental episode, but maybe you'll find it as an audio-only podcast one day if we deem it quality approved.
So it shouldn't hurt.
Yeah, this may show up floating in a bottle.
Because you know what? What the hell? But I am Louise Palanker. Be safe. Don't walk through crowds. Be well. Wash your hands and don't touch your face. Be kind. Cough into your sleeve.